Today, I'm going to show you how I rig an iPhone for video production. We're going to go through 3 levels of complexity, starting from just the bare phone until we max it out with accessories. And this is the gear that we use for our commercial clients anytime we're making vertical content. We made well over 100 ads last year and made a healthy 6 figures doing it. And these are also the techniques we use to create our social media content that gets tens of millions of views. Let's start with the obvious stuff. You're at least going to need an iPhone. And a lot of the things I'm going to cover are going to require at least an iPhone 15 and even 15 Pro for some of these features because they are the best for video production. There's really kind of no competition. I'll be using the 16 Pro, pretty much all the same features are in the 15 Pro. And if you don't have a Pro phone at all, that's okay. What you'll mostly be missing out on is Log. My default app for photos and videos is still the Apple Camera app most of the time. The reason is that you can quickly move between them. It's just really responsive, not complicated. It kind of gets out of the way and honestly does a fantastic job most of the time. So that is a starting point. I have done a video about how to use all the details of that, but we won't get into that today. I just want to point out that even though I'm going to show you a bunch of more complicated, fun apps that can do more advanced techniques, this is where I usually start, especially for quick on-the-go social media stuff, where I'm not going to be color grading it later. When we're creating anything professional, we're shooting in 4K so that we have room to crop and make choices later in post, in 30 frames per second most of the time because that's the format that social media platforms accept. Now you'll notice there is ProRes Log in here if you're using the Pro, and I'll get into it later, but I typically don't use that within the standard camera app. When you want to get to more advanced features, there's 3 main options here. Let's start off with Kino. This one is the funnest one. I kind of recommend playing around with it, and that's because they have this really great way of baking in different looks. I made one of them for them, so you'll get Stalman Film 03. It's one of my favorite LUTs. I use it on many of my YouTube videos, and you'll get it for free here. You don't have to download it from my site, just built into Kino. So as long as your capture format is set to log, it will be baking in those beautiful colors without any effort afterwards. That's what I really enjoy Kino for, is like instant turnaround, great looking footage. Most of the time on the job, what I go for is Blackmagic camera. There is so much in here. This works like a real camera. As you can see in the menus, they're pretty deep. There's a lot of complexity going on here. And if you don't know what it means, that's okay. You can use it in a pretty simple way, but I keep going back to Blackmagic because it just has everything I expect from a professional camera in my iPhone. Now, right now, there's kind of a significant downside to these third-party apps, Kino and Blackmagic. When you use stabilization, it can be glitchy, especially on lenses like 0.5, or if you zoom into 120, the stabilization will just like hiccup and have this weird glitch. I don't know why. I really hope it's fixed soon. So if you are running into that, that's when I reach for Final Cut Camera. It lately has a lot of the same features. So my settings for it are log and HEVC 4K 300 frames per second. And it does give you the most important options like white balance and exposure compensation. So you can do the essentials. It just doesn't have as much as Blackmagic, especially not file management. It's really missing that. And I know there's a lot of details to go over in this video. So if you want to go way more in depth, I am working on a course on the gear and the techniques of iPhone filmmaking. So if you go to stalman.com/course, you can sign up to be notified when it's ready. I am extremely excited for it. But those are the apps. This is how I'm using my iPhone most of the time, just running around, holding it and pointing it at things. Now, if you're doing work, sometimes that has to get a little more complicated. So the first thing we're going to add is microphone. We've got a lot of options these days. There are 2 brand new tiny mics that I love, one from Rode and DJI, and they both took very different approaches. I kind of love the Rode one more. It's just a more attractive piece of hardware. Really small and compact, a lot less features, but a beautiful part is this center receiver doesn't actually use any batteries. So the whole kit is very minimal when it's added to your phone, keeps the phone flat so it could still go in your pocket. And the transmitter mics are small. With the traditional bigger ones, I hate when people clip them on like this because they're just too big for that. Then you need a lav. This is only slightly bigger than a lav and much less distracting. Now DJI, they kept more of the Pro features in their miniature version. So you can see it sticks on in a similar way to the previous Rode mics, but they have one really killer feature in my book, and that's that the windscreens fit inside of the case. I know, I say that and you're like, who cares? That's not a big deal. I've actually been using a DJI case to carry around my Rode mic because like this seems perfect. It can go in your pocket. It's like the size of AirPods, but this is the windscreen. And basically anytime you're recording outside, you kind of need to have one. And there's just nowhere to put this. It's not going to go inside. So you end up having to like carry these separately. It actually drives me a little crazy. So I want to like the Rode more because they're more compact, but you do get a little bit more out of the DJI. It is a hard choice between them right now, but they both sound great and will do the job. There's a million power banks out there. You've probably already got one, but when I'm just on the go, I usually have one of these anchors in my pocket. I usually have kind of resented my power banks. This was the first time I really like them. They're 10,000 watt hours. It has a built-in USB-C cable, fast charging to the phone, but more importantly, the battery also fast charges, so everything is always ready to go. Like I say, it's the first time I've been happy that I paid for a battery bank. Usually they're annoying. These ones are great. To support the camera, you're gonna need some kind of clamp. There's a lot of options out there. My go-to is the Stalman clamp that I designed with Condor Blue last year. And I gotta say, I designed this because it's what I wanted to use, and I ended up using it so much. Part of what I love, like a lot of the design philosophy, is that once it's on the camera, you can really go back to just using it. Like the clamp can just stay there all day and be a bit of a cage for your phone, but you can still fit it in your pocket. It doesn't expand it that much, so it's still very usable. I've been so happy with this. I know I worked on it, but you know, it could have not turned out, but it did. I think it turned out great. It has a few mounting points in the key places. We're going to use those later, but importantly, the bottom is an Arca Swiss plate, so totally generic mount. You can kind of put on anything without adding an additional plate. This is the whole unit, just like this. So this first stand, I don't know if I can recommend it yet because I just picked it up. We're going to use it on our next trip. It's from Ulanzi. I think the design is really smart. Turned out to be a lot more plasticky than I expected, but that also keeps the weight down. And with this, you would basically just screw your camera into the top like so. And there you go, now you got a little ball head. So this is what we're gonna be using traveling for just selfie stuff. Like the camera doesn't have to be crazy stable, which, you know, it's not. It's a little bit bouncy, but sometimes you just need something smaller and lighter weight. By the way, the links to everything here will be in the description below. So if you need help finding any of it, it'll be there. What I actually use on the job is the Peak Design tripod. And I've had this for 4 years now, and I have used it a lot. I've got my minor complaints. I don't have time to get into them now, but the best thing is that it just keeps working. So I bring this with me pretty much everywhere we go. Like I was saying, standard tripod mount. This has an Arca Swiss on the top. So you just open it up, clamp it on, and now it is locked. And I was showing you the other one has some wobble. And once it's locked in, it is rock solid. And that's really important for professional work. You can't have your camera moving, especially if you're recording something with a transition or an effect in it. It's gotta stay in the same place. And this Arca plate is just permanent. Another nice thing I can say about Peak Design though, the ball head was having some issues getting stuck just last week. So again, 4 years old, that's not that old, but lifetime warranty on Peak Design, they just replaced the whole ball head. I appreciate it instantly, no questions asked. So yeah, great service. Actually, the Condor Blue stuff has a lifetime warranty as well. So all of this stuff you can trust. And then let's say I were to add a microphone to this, then I'd say we're kind of at the pinnacle of level 2 of how equipped this could be. You've now got a wireless microphone going into your kit. It's all very compact, and this can go on any tripod, and it's gonna be set. And if vertical is not your thing, I can tease that we are working on a horizontal version of the Stalman clamp, so that will be ready from Condor Blue soon. I don't want to show you too closely, so I'm not going to zoom in on this because this is the prototype. It's not ready to go, but you'll get a sense of what it's like. Again, it's bringing that rock solid usability to what are usually much cheaper products when you buy them on Amazon. I can't wait to get a real one. Anyway, we'll go into horizontal rigs later in the year. Now, I think we're just about ready to talk about the big rig, but one thing I want to address first, and that is a fantastic service that any creative should be aware of, and that's Artlist, sponsor of this video. And Artlist hasn't been content to just sit back. They have been innovating. Last year, I already showed you their new AI text-to-speech features, which are
great for instantly adding a narrator to whatever content you're creating.
And soon, you'll be able to be the director of your own voiceovers with new speech-to-speech capabilities. Now, already the reason that I open Artlist every time I'm working on a video is to get music, but they have so much more. There's also footage, and now LUTs. So when you want some new creative options to add to that Apple log video we're gonna shoot later, you'll be able to download from their LUT library, which has hundreds of different looks. Along with the huge asset libraries they already have, they're also offering new generative AI tools, so creators will have every tool to tell their stories. And they're also always working on the basics, like new advanced search tools. They have everything you need all under one roof. So go check out Artlist. There's a link in the description below. They have so much coming in 2025. Thanks again to Artlist for sponsoring this video. Now let's go a little bit crazy. This is all assembled already, but I'm gonna take it apart so I can show you what's going on inside. There's a lot of pieces here. Again, links in description so you can find what you need, because I know it can be a little complicated to assemble something like this yourself. But I wanna let you know, like, nothing in here is frivolous. I'm not adding parts because they look cool or they just make the rig bigger. This is all practical stuff that I use in every single shoot. I don't want my rig to be any bigger than it needs to be. So all of these are a powerful part of my shoot. So this is all of it. I haven't taken it apart for a while. Kind of forgot what it all looks like. All right, let's put it all back together again. So Stalman clamp makes the whole thing work. This is really the centerpiece. And the big addition lately that I really appreciate them doing is the new hub, the USB-C media hub. Before I attach it, let me show you a close-up here. So we've got 3 USB ins and outs and an HDMI port. So this really turns it into a fully featured camera. Like, once you've added this hub, this is the missing ingredient that lets you have a full camera out of an iPhone. And it's part of the reason that I say you need an iPhone 15 or 16 at least, because it needs USB-C to really have these pro features. So I'm gonna mount that with all of the ports facing down. Now I've got this sort of cross shape, and these are meant to go together. So they were designed at the same time. And also there are 4 different cables here. These could be any cables, of course, but I think Condor Blue makes pretty good ones, and they're sort of custom sizes for exactly what we need here. So I never measured these. I don't know how long each one is. Let me check. I guess I got measuring right here. So this first one is 15 centimeters. You're gonna have to convert this to inches because I'm in Canada. The shortest one, 10.5 centimeters, 22.5 centimeters, and finally 31 centimeters. Those are the 3 sizes that make all of this work and be tidy. I mean, you could have more, but it would become spaghetti. Next, let's attach the V-mount clip. So this is not a piece of electronics. This is just metal. It is just hardware, but it allows you to attach standard V-mount batteries, which are kind of the most common version of a filmmaking battery. And the ones that I absolutely love are from SmallRig. So this is their 50 watt hour version. These things are just amazing. Like, I can't say enough nice things about them. The big advancement that lets us use them here is they have both USB-C and also USB-A, including fast charging, both in their output and their input. I also have the 99 watt hour version here. So this is the chunkier one, same idea. These will charge your phone fast. They'll charge themselves fast. They are awesome. I love these batteries. And when I first started designing these rigs, I didn't realize how essential they were to a more complex rig like this. And we'll find out as we start adding pieces, but if you don't have power supplied to your phone constantly, some features will drop out. HDMI, recording externally, like, they need power supplied. So it's not that your phone is gonna die right away, but it can't even do all the stuff if power is not going into the phone at the same time. Now on the other side, we're gonna add this Condor Blue Pro Blade handle. So it's a handle, like, this is meant for a big camera. This is a big handle. It's meant for a normal camera, but it has a slot for the SanDisk Professional Pro Blade drives to go inside. And now you've got a 2 terabyte hard drive sitting in there. This is one of the pricier bits of this whole kit. Like, this will really raise the price. You could also attach a regular hard drive or put just like a USB stick in here if you want. Just make sure that it's fast enough. I'm doing this for work. Like, we have clients expecting performance out of us. So I think the Pro Blade is worth it in that case. It's crazy fast, and then you can just plug this whole thing into your computer after and offload all the files. The bottom is a standard NATO rail. So we're gonna use the NATO to NATO adapter. Attach that to the side here. Oh, before we do, these 90-degree cables actually hide underneath that NATO slot. So it just like disappears in there once you attach it. Let's see, check this out. Nice. Now that cable is never gonna move. Now's a good time to add the phone because we have a cable just floating here. I would recommend inserting the phone first without any of the plugs on the bottom, and then after, line up that hole. Take the 40 gigabit per second 90-degree adapter that comes with the Stalman clamp, press it inside. That is the only fragile bit of this whole clamp, by the way, so do take good care of it. And then you've got a little magnetized cover that snaps shut. So I can plug in my first cable. This is connecting my phone to the USB hub, and you can see the light is on, so it is working. Next, we'll attach the Pro Blade handle to the side over here. And I like to balance this so that it's as close to standing without it as possible. It's too bad this battery's not taller. Otherwise it could stand on its own. Like when I put this down, I actually put it on the battery if I'm just like throwing it around set, because it's not quite enough to stand on its own like this. Now the longest cable is going to be for our battery. Do take note of the labels on the USB hub because they end up mattering. Then we can plug in our SSD. And then this is the Wireless Pro from Rode. Now again, DJI does have competing products. I think I have it over here. The DJI Mic 2, it's extremely popular. You've probably seen it around, but it doesn't have movable cables. Like I can't just plug it in and stick it in the front. It really wants to be plugged into the bottom of the phone. That works fine for a bigger camera. You can run an audio cable out, but it's not ideal for this setup. So what I like about Rode's option is it is the most flexible. You can do the most with it. So we're going to use this cold shoe mount on the back, pop it in, and we've got a very tiny 90 to 90 degree cable. Wait, give me a second. I mixed up. This short cable is supposed to go over here. All right, that looks better. Now we've got our second shortest cable, and it's going to go into the side of the Rode, and we make our cables all neat and tidy so none of them are dropping below the camera. And here we are. We've got the complete rig. And for bigger jobs, I like to use bigger tripods. I am in love with this new Tribex from Small Rig and Potato Jet. They did such a good job together. There's just a handle you squeeze and the legs drop down. Super smart. But as with most bigger tripods, the standard head is like a Manfrotto, 501 or whatever these are called. So I'm not going to use that. I could use an adapter, but instead I'm going to use the Condor Blue 501 Arca pivot attachment, which I really like because this actually pivots. So it depends which camera you are going to mount to it. You could have this either facing forward or backward. And there is also a plate like this from Small Rig that's cheaper. I do use occasionally, but it feels a lot cheaper. It is not as secure as this one. And there it is. I'm locked in. And I know there's a lot going on here, and it's just the start of what you actually need to know to use this thing. So if you want to know more, I've got a sign up form where you can enter your email and find out when my in-depth course for iPhone filmmaking is going to be ready. I'll keep you posted, but until then, I'll see you in the next video.